So a long time ago in the United States, in the year 1834, things were obviously quite different in many ways, but especially in politics. This party didn't exist, this party did exist, but it was much different than today, and it was quite a new party, having only been founded in 1828 by Andrew Jackson. But Andrew Jackson, while doing several good things, also did several bad things, and everything he did was certainly controversial. However, Jackson's approach to things was so different that there wasn't much of a unified and organized opposition. People criticized him for different reasons, and while there were groups that were so-called anti-Jacksonian, they focused on different things. But in 1834, that all changed with the formation of a unified opposition party, one that's quite a unique one in American politics, all things considered, the Whig Party. So what are the Whigs like? Well, in terms of political colors, they're light blue and buff. Yes, this shade of yellow is technically called buff. What's their mascot? They didn't really have a mascot. That idea was actually started by Andrew Jackson, so they didn't want to participate in it. Now the real question is, are they on the—
Stop!
Cody, what are you doing here?
I know what you're going to ask. Don't do it.
But I was just going to answer if the Whigs were
Think of the comments. Don't.
Were the Whigs on the left or the right?
You maniac! You doomed the video!
All joking aside, the Whigs actually weren't on either the left or the right. They weren't quite centrist either. They were actually all three. How is that possible, you may ask? It's because they were known as a big tent party. A big tent party means that the party has members with all sorts of different viewpoints in it. The thing that they all agreed with is that they didn't like Andrew Jackson. They also tended to support policies that were more broad yet effective. So what did they think about economics? Well, they wanted higher tariffs on foreign goods, meaning you'd have to pay more if it's not made in America. They typically supported around 25%, which is a pretty high tax, and so people would pay less for the cheaper American brand. Then any tax money they do make off the tariffs would help the government earn revenue without hurting American businesses, which encourages them to stay inside the United States. So in a weird way, they're pro-business and pro-taxation at the same time. Also at the time, land was pretty important in determining status in the business world. Clearly, if you owned a lot of land, you had the resources and likely the money to run it, so they should be considered the most important. However, according to the Whigs, that was not true. To the Whigs, skill and credit should count more than simply having inherited several dozen acres. They were also very supportive of using tax revenue to help build infrastructures across America. More specifically, they heavily supported public schooling, roads, canals, and cultural institutions. America at the time was very big but not well connected outside the original 13 colonies, so this was a way to sew the nation closer together, as they would put it. What about social policies? They were kind of like grandpas. In what sense? Well, why did they support universal education? Two reasons. One, they wanted a well-educated populace so that the people would know the Constitution, recognize tyranny, and better help the economy. That answer makes sense. The second reason, they thought that people needed to learn manners. Yes, that's right. They wanted to also use schools to teach people about table manners, posture, politeness, and so on. They were also weirdly anti-modernization because they thought technology was scary and would help create an American aristocracy. The Whigs liked the idea of a simple American life on the farm. So yeah, Grandpa Party. What about government itself? The Whigs hated Andrew Jackson, and most thought he was tyrannical. He greatly expanded the position of the presidency's power and mocked him by calling him King Andy. But the Whigs didn't just want to keep things balanced. Most of the time, they actually wanted Congress to be the supreme branch of the three branches. So in a way, they're almost parliamentary. While they did have presidents, they focused more on Congress and state governorships to get things done. The Whigs were actually a successful opposition for a time, but man, they had a lot of bad luck. In 1836, they put 4 Whigs in the national ballot. Yes, 4. So naturally, that split the vote and all 4 lost to Martin Van Buren. Then next time, under William Henry Harrison, they won quite well. In fact, this election had the second highest turnout in American history at 80.2% of the electorate, only behind 1860. But then Harrison died after 31 days thanks to pneumonia. Then his vice president, John Tyler, became president. And John Tyler became one of the most hated presidents ever. Remember how I said the Whigs had a variety of opinions? Well, John Tyler had ideas that angered a lot of Whigs from his own party. Firstly, he had many rivals in Congress who also wanted to be president that he would fight with, such as Henry Clay. He was also a firm believer in manifest destiny and westward expansions, while most Whigs were not. Most Whigs thought America didn't need to expand. They wanted simple America, remember? Tyler said, screw that, we're going to keep going west anyway. Then to top it all off, tons of Whig policies in Congress he just vetoed. In fact, he was the first president to ever get a veto overturned by Congress. Eventually, his own party kicked him out and he technically finished his term as an independent. Because his presidency was such a mess, the Whigs dubbed him his accidency. The Whigs lost the next election to James K. Polk, but then won in 1850 thanks to Zachary Taylor, a war hero from the Mexican-American War that just finished. But in another stroke of bad luck, he died after only 16 months in office. Once again, the vice president took over, and once again, it was a terrible vice president, Millard Fillmore. Honestly, the only thing most of you know about him is that he's the one who helped open trade up with Japan. He also finished the Compromise of 1850 and sadly encouraged Northern Whigs to abstain from voting so they could pass the Fugitive Slave Act. This, along with other policies, ended up splitting the Whig Party into two groups, the Conscious Whigs and the Cotton Whigs. Millard Fillmore's divisive policies ended the Whig Party and it split into a lot of factions. Some joined the Northern Democrats, others the Southern Democrats. Some formed the Constitutional Union Party, which only ran in 1860. The chunk that was left united with the Free Soil Party to form the new Republican Party. The Whigs disappeared and never really appeared again. There have been occasional Whig Party revivals, but they've all been local and never successful. So that's the brief overview of perhaps of one of the most unique mainstream parties the United States has ever had. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.